Thank you very much. So I'll say four things. I think first, we have to remember the importance of the foundations. Industrial policy is not a silver bullet, and countries need strong education and good functioning financial systems and macro frameworks to grow well. And Latin America in particular still lags behind in many of these variables. Children don't have good mathematics proficiency. Education is much lower than in Asia. It's also very hard for firms to borrow in the capital markets, again, compared to Asia. So I think these basic economy-wide fundamentals need to have a continued focus. I think I'll say a few things on industrial policy, or three things. The first is that Latin America had a lot of distrust between the public and private sectors. And they've tried to build that over time through these working groups called mesas ejecutivas in some countries, where the private sector and public sector gets together and designs reforms. But these have been very much focused on short-term regulatory reforms that can remove roadblocks facing private companies. And they've had a harder time making long-term investments in public goods and infrastructure that firms need. And so I think from that point of view, their impact may be still a bit limited. And I think there's perhaps too much of a focus on fixing government failures, so regulations that are a problem, as opposed to fixing market failures and providing goods that the firms need but aren't provided by the market. Another point I'll make is that while CEPAL has emphasized the use of what they call productive development policies, these are, and in our report we call these first choice policies, because they directly solve problems and provide things that the market does not, like industrial parks and market access assistance for firms trying to export, or skills that workers need. Still, however, we see in Latin America that in many countries, tariffs are still higher than in other countries of similar income levels. We see that recently many countries have actually announced new and higher tariffs. Tariffs are not a particularly effective industrial policy, because they mean your firms can only sell to the local market, and they need to grow to scale there. In many Latin American countries, even the largest are still fairly small economically. And so I think a focus on what CEPAL has been advocating, productive development policies and public inputs, less on trade restrictions, could be helpful. The final thing I'll say is that I think countries may need to take more risk. There is a sense lately that because of the growth of China as an exporter, and also because of difficulties exporting to high-income countries, that manufacturing is not a feasible development path anymore. At the same time, manufacturing facilities can create learning, they have jobs for engineers that require sophistication, and can help diversify the economy. Yet countries haven't been focusing on that as much lately, and I'd suggest that I think that that's something we need to revisit and not be so pessimistic about. Thanks.